I'm James, Executive Chef at Pogi's Catering and Clubhouse, and today we're ranking potato chips. We got 4 different brands, and we're trying them out to see which one's best. Stick around to the end to see who the winner is. This is Chef's Pick.
Nuts. And store brand.
Alright, so we got 4 different brands of potato chips here today. We got the Lay's, Ruffles, Utz, and the Giant Eagle brand. We're testing these chips based on 5 different qualities. Those qualities are taste, salt factor, chip to crumb ratio, thickness, and value. We're going to add up all those scores, and whichever one has the highest number, that's the best chip in my opinion. We're going to start with the Lay's. This bag of Lay's cost $4.99. According to the package, there's about 15 chips in a 1-ounce serving, and there are 8 1-ounce servings per bag. That comes out to 62 cents per serving. So this is a 1-ounce serving of Lay's, and let's get into the taste test. There's something special about a Lay's potato chip. Light and crispy, salty, they're just so good. They don't taste greasy, nothing's really overpowering, it's really well balanced. In the taste department, I'm going to give Lay's a 9. Salt factor, like I said, Lay's are pretty well balanced. They're not super salty, but they're definitely not undersalted. I think an undersalted chip is definitely the easiest way to ruin a potato chip. These are middle of the road. Salt factor for the Lay's, I'm going to go 7. Thickness of the Lay's, they're a nice thin chip. Classic. They're not so thin that they're like real bubbly and airy. They still have some crunch to them. They don't hold up the best in dip, but I don't think that's the goal of Lay's. Thickness, we're going to give them a nice middle of the road. We'll put a 6. Value for the Lay's, not the cheapest chip that we have here today. Actually is the most expensive. So the value on the Lay's, they're definitely going to lose some points. We're going to go 5. And now for the chip to crumb ratio. I got a little test here that we're going to do. We're going to dump these out and take a look ourselves. As you'll see, there's some pretty decent sized chips. Nothing too big, nothing too small. A few crumbs, but nothing too tiny. I would probably consider anything smaller than this a crumb. It's definitely less than 10% of the bag, maybe 5%, so I'd say that's a pretty good chip to crumb ratio. For Lay's, for their chip to crumb ratio, we're going to give them an 8. Next chip that we're trying is Ruffles. They're the only not flat chip that we're trying today in this test, but they're a pretty classic chip, so I felt like they should be included. Get right into the test here with Ruffles and see how they taste. It's good. It's definitely more potatoey than the Lay's. A tad bit more salt, but not much, I think. My 1 ounce serving that I have here, I don't know if I just got lucky or if this is a sign of the whole bag yet, but nothing too dark, nothing burnt, so that contributes to the taste. Everything's pretty good in here. It's what you would expect. For the taste on the Ruffles, Ruffles are fantastic. We're gonna go 9. Salt factor. I think it's a little less salty than the Lay's. Not by much, but just a smidge. So we're gonna go 6. Now, thickness. The Ruffles in the Ruffles make it seem as though they might be a little more thick, but if you read between the lines here, it's not much thicker than the Lay's. It's a little thicker. And so I think for thickness, it's pretty good. We'll go 7. Now for the value. This bag of Ruffles cost me $6.59. According to the bag, there's 12 chips in a 1 ounce serving, 13 1 ounce servings per bag. That comes out to 51 cents per serving. 50 cents for a serving of chips, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I think that's a pretty good value. We're going to mark that a little higher than we did the Lay's, and we'll do a 7 on value. Now time for the chip to crumb ratio. Ruffles, you're coming in pretty strong here. A lot of really big chips. I like that. Fair amount of medium-sized chips, not a lot of crumbs at all. A piece like this or smaller, pretty rare here. With Ruffles, you do have the little Ruffles themselves that might break off the corners occasionally, but this is a pretty solid bag of chips. I think that it has a pretty good chip to crumb ratio. Chip to crumb ratio for the Ruffles, definitely good. We're gonna go 9. Next, we're gonna try the Utz. The Utz bag costs $4.79. According to the package, according to the package, you'll get 20 chips per 1 ounce serving, and there's 8 1 ounce servings in a bag. Comes out to 60 cents per serving. And a 1 ounce serving here. We'll give it a try. That's really good. Real potato-y. Almost kind of a French fry flavor to it, which is really unique. The texture is a bit softer, but by no means soggy or flimsy. Just almost like a little chip cloud, if that makes sense. That taste is really good. These are fantastic. We're gonna give them a 10. Salt factor, so far, out of the 3 that I've tried, this is the least salty chip. But the salt factor here is gonna be lower than the Ruffles or the Lay's. We're gonna give it a 4. Thickness, though, for a flat chip, it's got a pretty good thickness to it. I feel like you might be able to dip these if you wanted to. Dipping a flat chip's not something that I would usually recommend, but I feel like these would hold up. So thickness, we're gonna go 8. Now, value at 60 cents a serving. These actually wound up being a little more expensive than I had imagined that they would be. So for value, we are going to drop it down a point or two. And we're going to give that a 5. Now for the chip to crumb ratio. So the Utz definitely has a couple pretty big, decent sized chips. I like that. A lot of medium sized chips and quite a bit crumbs. There's a lot in here that are this size or smaller. The rest of the chips are pretty much uniform in size though. You know, nothing too crazy different other than the ones that are obviously crumbs in the bottom of the bag. For chip to crumb ratio, Utz are going to lose a couple points there. We're going to give it a 6. Alright. Our last chip, Giant Eagle brand. Bag of potato chips cost $2.99. According to the bag, there are 24 chips per ounce, and there are 8 1-ounce servings per bag, for a total of 37 cents per serving. So this is definitely going to be the cheapest bag of chips, the lowest cost per serving. But before we think about that too much, let's get into the taste. Very crispy. For just being a regular potato chip and not being a kettle chip, this is by far the crispiest chip. Good flavor. Not the best flavor though. I don't want to say they're bland because that's not the right word, but a little basic. Nothing pops out. So, you know, for taste, we're going to give the Giant Eagles a 7. Salt factor. These are pretty decently salty. A little more so than the Utz, a little less so than the Lay's or the Ruffles. So we're going to give them a 5. Thickness. Fairly thick, not too thick, pretty middle of the road. Actually, with the bag saying that there's 24 chips in a 1-ounce serving, I was expecting these to be a lot thinner when we opened them up. So, surprise there. I'm going to give those a 6. Value, 37 cents a serving. By far the best value that we picked up today. And like I said, it's, you know, it's far under that 50 cents a serving marker that I'm kind of looking at for a potato chip. So we're going to go ahead and give that value an 8. Now for the chip to crumb ratio. A surprising amount of crumbs. Definitely more than the Ruffles and Lay's. Probably about on par crumb-wise with the Utz. But the difference here is the uniformity of the rest of the chips. You got a medium-sized chip, you got a small chip. 1, 2 big, decent-sized chips in there. So it's all pretty much a random mix of shapes and sizes in addition to a fair amount of crumb. So to rate the Giant Eagle chip to crumb ratio, like I said, more crumbs than the Utz, but I'm going to knock them down a point just because the rest of the chips aren't quite as uniform as the Utz were. So we're going to go 5 there. Alright, so the scores are all tallied up. let's see who the winner is. Coming in fourth place, Giant Eagle. You got 31 out of 50 points. You lost big points on the salt factor and the chip to crumb ratio. There was a lot of crumbs, and overall the chips in the bag, all various sizes. That definitely knocked you down some points. You also lost a couple points on taste. It was definitely the least tasty chip. Just something a little off about it, wasn't too thrilled. So 31 out of 50 points, good enough for fourth place. Third place, Utz. 33 out of 50 points. Pretty high scores all around. Definitely the tastiest chip, 10 out of 10. Thickness was pretty good too, 8 out of 10. Lost points in value and salt factor. They could definitely be saltier. Only got a 4 out of 10 on salt, and came in with a 5 on value. 60 cents a serving, just a little pricey for me, especially when there's other brands out there that are arguably just as good for less money. So 33 out of 50 points. Lay's, you came in second. Total of 35 out of 50 points. Ranked big on taste, 9 out of 10. Big on chip crumb ratio, 8 out of 10. And big on salt, 7 out of 10. These were the saltiest chip, and for me, that's a good plus. Lost a few points on value. A little pricey, but still worth it in my opinion. So Lay's second place, 35 out of 50 points. If you're following along, you know who the winner is. Ruffles. Definitely a superb potato chip. 9 out of 10 on taste, 9 out of 10 on chip crumb ratio, 7 out of 10 on thickness, 7 out of 10 on value. For the price, this is a phenomenal potato chip. 9 out of 10 on chip crumb ratio too, that's pretty impressive. These are well packed. A lot of times people complain about the amount of air in a bag of potato chips, but when you realize that results in a bag that's almost all whole chips and barely any crumbs, it's worth it. Only place they really lost points was salt. Not nearly as salty as I'd like them to be, but you know what? If I have Ruffles, I'm probably dipping them anyway, so that's okay. First place, Ruffles. Total of 38 out of 50 points. So, if you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, head over to our YouTube channel and check out the Chef Picks playlist, where we rank all kinds of supermarket foods. And please, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and always hit the little bell. See you next time.